Hi, Vanya from Clubscraft, where we help sports coaches spend more time with their athletes. And just like a house isn't just the foundation, so does the basic skills of endurance, force, and speed skills won't take you too far when it comes to your endurance sports career. So today we are going to dig a little deeper into some of the advanced skills and see how you can increase them to get the best possible results on your next race. So when it comes to advanced skills, there are basically three different things. That's muscular endurance, anaerobic endurance, and power. So we are going to dig deep into each of them and see how we can train them, as well as which are important for what type of endurance sport or sport in general. Muscular endurance is a combination of force and endurance, and it just represents your ability to push higher forces for a prolonged period of time. By correctly executing some specific training sessions, athletes can raise their lactate threshold, increase their resistance to fatigue, and tolerate the buildup of lactic acid. And at the end of a long distance event, for example, especially in triathlon, where you have a bunch of different disciplines back to back, it is very important to have high muscular endurance so that you can be able to run at a higher pace at the end of your race. Building aerobic endurance is something that you usually do at the very beginning of your training season, so somewhere in the base period, let's say in the beginning to middle of your base period, and it consists mostly of zone 3 work, while at the later stages of your base period and going into the build period, you're going to do more work in the zone 4 and zone 5A heart rate zones. When we say you will be spending time in zone 3, 4, and 5A, what we mean by that is the specific intervals that are going to target these specific performance indicators or skills. So you will probably go on a long bike ride, for example, on a 3-4 hour bike ride, and then somewhere in the middle you would have intervals of varying durations where you would be targeting those intensity zones. The key to remember is that the work part of your interval is constantly lengthened throughout your season, while the recovery periods always stay the same. They are quite short. And once you get to your later stages in the season, those efforts can be somewhere between 20 to 40 minutes long and done in the zones 4 and 5A. It's quite hard effort, but it's still something that you can control throughout the entire time. So it's not like you're going to feel like you're fading away at the last minutes. So it's one of the best examples is that it's still comfortably uncomfortable for you to hold these intensity levels. When it comes to anaerobic endurance, that's an athlete's ability to resist fatigue at those very high effort levels. And once you are at this stage, you really know that your anaerobic endurance is sufficiently developed. And these athletes are able to tolerate lactic acid quite well, and they really excel at those short course races, your 5 and 10Ks, your Olympic distance triathlons, or something similar. Athletes racing in longer events usually don't really need to put that much emphasis on anaerobic endurance, but it's still beneficial for them to have some of those skills developed. There are two ways which are back to back, going one to the other. So at the beginning of your build period, you're basically going to do some 2 to 6 minute long intervals at the heart rate zone of 5B, and you would have recoveries roughly equal or a little longer than your active working part of the interval. And then as you progress into later stages of the build period and you go into the racing period, you're going to really shorten those work part of the interval to something like 30 seconds or 2 minutes, while the recovery part is still going to stay the same at around 2 to 6 minutes. And this enables you to improve your tolerance for lactic acid, as well as just give you this ability to do the extra push at the very end when you're racing to the finish line. These training sessions are really demanding on you, and they are quite tough, so you shouldn't be doing them too often. Once a week is perfectly fine. If you're doing them too often, you're risking injury or burnout. I personally hate those workouts, and I always say that when I see them in my training calendar for the day, I really want to punch a wall or something similar. But I'm really happy once I'm done with them, because it just feels really good to knock out a workout like that. When it comes to power enables the athletes to generate a high amount of force very quickly. So you can the easiest way to observe it is to watch a cycling race which has a lot of hills, and then you'll see those cyclists who just fly up the hill. Those are the athletes that have developed their power to the absolute maximum. These advanced skills are based on your nervous system, which fires strong electrical signals to your muscles, and they are able to respond very quickly by contracting hard and generating a lot of force in a very short amount of time. To develop this skill, it's important to keep the work part of the interval very short. So it's going to be something like 8, 10, 12 seconds, and then you have a long rest to enable your body to recover. And because it's really short, the amount of high intensity work that you're doing, you can ditch the heart rate monitor, because your heart rate will never be able to catch up, and your heart rate will start going through the roof something like 10-15 seconds after you're already done. So it's a lot better to base your efforts on pace, on power, or just plain and simple rate of perceived exertion, because it's such a short period of time where you have to generate maximum amount of power that you can. And the best basically is just to trust your gut on this one. And that's about it. Tomorrow we are going to finish off this part of our series on performance and skills and limiters by seeing which races you should be choosing based on your preferences and your limiters and your abilities. And then next week we are going to start planning our next season based on the goals that we have, the races that we picked, and we are going to add a few more races here and there just to keep us fired up. So if you also want to read full blog post on basic skills, limiters, and advanced skills, check out the link in the description below, and I see you tomorrow. Bye bye.